Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Kim, Program Manager for the beautiful Kentlands Mansion in Gaithersburg, Maryland, where we can't wait to host your next special event. Kentlands Mansion is the perfect setting for elegant weddings and other special celebrations. The mansion is formal but warm and welcoming and so full of character. We still have some great dates available for 2021, so give us a call if you'd like to schedule a tour. But right now, I'm super excited for you to meet our I Do Crew wedding experts. You're in for a real treat tonight, listening in on these industry leaders discussing everything you need to know about planning your wedding or next big event will get you ready to tackle all your event details. While you're watching, don't forget to send us your questions and we'll try to get to them at the end during our Q&A section. Our fabulous wedding experts are Megan Farrar from Forever After Weddings and Events, Ray Bialik from Bialik's Music, Bobby Mitchell from Putting on the Ritz Catering, and Lee Hickman from Weddings by Lee Photography. Let's welcome your moderator and panelist, Megan from Forever After Weddings and Events. Take it away, Megan.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Farrar, and I'm a wedding coordinator and the owner of Forever After Events. I've been in the wedding industry for about 3 years now, and in that time, I've done about 150 weddings, probably a little bit more. What I love the most about my job is just being the support for the couples as they are planning everything. And then when it comes to the actual wedding day, just being there and helping their vision that we've talked about for so long come to life. A little fun fact is that my birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday to me. And I adopted a dog to celebrate. So she's taking a nap in the kitchen right now. So just wanted to share that if there's any other dog parents out there. But next up, we're going to have Ray introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Megan. I'm Ray. I'm Bialik with Bialik's Music. I am apparently president for life for 42 years that I've run Bialik's Music in Rockville, Maryland. And I would say the one thing that I love about my job is that you go into the office every day, you do not know what's going to happen. You can have 5 brand new inquiries and love and life, or you can have 5 cancellations due to snow, weather, whatever happens. So you never know what's going to happen, but it's exciting in that type of situation. And this summer was kind of interesting. During COVID, I played golf between 16 and 18 times per month. In August, I broke my right foot, which is the right foot to break if you're going to play golf. So I actually hit the ball further because I had to put the weight on the correct foot, but don't go breaking your foot. And I would say that but another interesting situation is that we basically are still booking little things, but hopefully we will get to bigger and better things. And now here's Bobby from Putting on the Ritz.
Hi, I'm Bobby Mitchell with Putting on the Ritz Catering. I'm the owner. I have been doing weddings for 37 years now. We work between Baltimore and Washington area. Been doing weddings so long, many times, it seems like almost every other month I have somebody come in with their parents and come to find out I've done their parents' wedding. Makes you feel quite old. What I like most about my job is just watching the bride's dream come true. And I never really take for granted the fact that they entrusted that very special day with me. When everybody thanks you at the end of the day and they're happy with their wedding, nothing could really make me any happier. I played a little more golf than I did last year. I am nowhere near Ray. I shall not be trying to play him in golf, it sounds like. Now, next up is Lee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lee from Weddings by Lee Photography. I've had the privilege of photographing and documenting weddings for about the last 10 years, hitting a milestone of just over 300 weddings. I can't believe it's been that long. I want to thank the crew at Kentlands Mansion for putting this fantastic event on for us. I think the one thing I love most about my job is imagining my couples 10, 20, 30 years down the line, sitting on the couch, flipping through their wedding album, reliving that special moment with all their loved ones. I don't golf, so I did not do any golfing this summer, but I can say my yard has never looked so good. And now back to Megan.
Thank you so much, Lee. And if I could have all the other panelists join us on the big screen here. Woohoo, we're all here. Well, I know this has certainly been a challenging spring and summer for all of us with the pandemic impacting people's ability to work, to go to school, to vacation, and just what we're here to talk about tonight, which is plan a wedding. So people have really had to scramble to find alternatives, whether they want to postpone or cancel, but love is not canceled, or just go forward with all these new regulations that at one point were just changing at breakneck speeds. So I want to know, Bobby, how has putting on the Ritz catering pivoted for social distancing and other COVID impacts right now?
Okay, well, somebody also was asked to talk a little bit about how social distancing affected everything too. As far as our business goes, we started doing the new micro weddings for this year. We do a lot of smaller weddings, could be 20 or 25 people. We find some people just coming in and doing a small wedding and having just maybe a champagne toast and leaving. Others are doing very small meals. Basically, during the shutdown, the first thing we had to do is to go and find out CDC and restaurant recommendations about what we need to do to keep our guests safe. So we purchased a lot of protective gear for all of our staff, guests, masks, gloves, gallons of hand sanitizers. We can keep everybody clean. We purchased plexiglass shields for the bartenders and the food servers. We have plexiglass covers for on top of all the food. If you want to make some extra money, get in the plexiglass business. It's going really good. Once the end of June hit, we started doing weddings again now. We're trying to keep everybody safe. All of my staff does a temperature check. We also ask them a list of questions like you have in the doctor's office. It's just like the doctor's office because I took it from my doctor's office. Right now, rules in place for everybody. The state now just raised up the occupancy rate to 75% for venues. Now, this is for across the state, but a lot of venues won't be able to go to 75% because basically all the social distancing rules are still in place, which means we have to only have 6 people at a table unless all the people are from the same household, and tables need to be 6 feet apart. So that keeps everything a little more distant. So a lot of the individual counties have lower numbers. Counties can lower numbers, but not raise them. You'll find lower numbers in Montgomery County, Baltimore City, and Anne Arundel County. Other things we watch for, we're trying to keep our lines to a minimum now. We're trying to get people to get more bars, set up different bartenders. That way we have less lines. And it's also better service. Guests hate waiting in line for a drink. Give them a drink quick, everybody's happy. Been a lot of confusion about buffets. People have thought buffets were outlawed. They really aren't. Basically, it's kind of like the old style cafeteria style buffet. You'll walk up, the chafing dishes will be there. They'll have plexiglass covers over them. Again, plexiglass. We will have servers behind there asking what you want. We will put the plate together for you and then hand the plate to you so everyone's not touching the utensils on the buffet. We got new rules for passing appetizers. When we're passing appetizers, we put the napkin in your hand, then we place the appetizer in the napkin. That way people aren't grabbing on the tray. And if you think about it, why were people ever grabbing on the tray? Is that terrible? I mean, people would stick their hand, they would take the appetizer out. I mean, it was kind of nuts. It's kind of like people telling you to wash your hands now. Not a bad rule. We should have been doing it for a long time. Some things to help you with social distancing you might want to think about. Since you can only have 6 at a table, if you rent 4-foot rounds, you can do 6 people around a 4-foot, the same as you can do 8 people around a 5-foot. So that might enable you to get a few more tables into some venues. And outside of that, I'd say the most important thing to remember is I've done a lot of weddings since everything's reopened. Everybody's having a good time. There's plenty of dancing. There's some funny masks. And, you know, we've all got something to remember for our use. I got some funny pictures of me in leisure suits, and you guys will have some funny pictures in all the crazy masks of 2020. And you know what? My favorite saying always is, no matter what, you're still married on Monday. You'll have a great time.
Absolutely. I think you hit all the good measures about what's going on with catering right now, and all the logistics that go into still having a wedding during this season of COVID. And I know there's a lot of big challenges within the logistics, but I know on my couple's behalf, I feel like a lot of their challenge is emotional. It's deciding whether or not they're actually going to have the wedding, if they're going to postpone, or if they're just going to trudge forward on their date and following all these new logistical regulations. And they're different for DC, they're different for Maryland, they're different for Virginia, and they even vary by venue, by city. So it's a lot to take in for them. And, I really have to say they've taken the changes with such grace. And they've really, buckled down to the thought of, okay, how can we realistically but safely still have our wedding and have everyone, be as safe as possible, but also have as much fun as possible. So myself, I've had 6 weddings since July, when things kind of opened back up, and each wedding has looked completely different. But at the end of the day, like you said, the most important part, you're surrounded by those closest to you that love you, and also you're married to your partner, which is the whole reason that we're having a wedding anyway, is to solidify that relationship. But those weddings, even if they're smaller, they don't happen without vendors here, like we have on our panel. So there's a lot of changes happening. But with the changes, Ray, what are some of the best ideas or most interesting things you've seen clients do to address social distancing, but still have music with a DJ or a band during their wedding?
So what's kind of interesting to me is that most clients never think of the entertainment as, gee, we got to protect those guys too. It's kind of like, we have a band. Are they bringing hand sanitizer? Are they bringing plexiglass shields? So every Wednesday night, I try to go on a Zoom call with musicians from this area down all through to Atlanta. And it's either like Montgomery County or Maryland or DC, pretty restrictive, or it's a wild, wild west, which is basically what a lot of the South is in South Carolina, where there's still 300 people weddings. And if you bring in a mask, they ask what that is. So the interesting thing is that a lot of our musicians we have Bialik's Music does live bands, musicians, and DJs, and photo booths, and all that stuff. So what a lot of the musicians have to do is call up ahead of time. I think when we call up Bobby, put on the Ritz and work with him, or you, Megan, it's we know what to do. But a lot of these places do not tell in advance what they're going to do for the musicians, and the musicians, most of them get tested ahead of time, and that's fine. But it's all what I want to see happen is to pretend like the DJ and the band stage. In other words, if the band was supposed to have a 24 by 12, a pretty big band, give them a 36 by 18 if you can. Just make it a bigger situation they can space out. But make the band or the DJ like you're exhibiting the Mona Lisa. Put ropes in front of it. Do not touch. Don't even think about rushing up on the stage. No, the bride and groom are not going to come up and dance with the band and all that type of stuff. So you have to think ahead of time. A lot of our people bring their own masks and protection, but I think in most cases it's out there and ready to go. But I think that for all vendors, especially bands which have multiple people coming, I think we have to really think about how to protect them, just not the guests, but as people that are working there. So we've taken a lot into our own hands to protect ourselves, but it'd be great a little bit more partnering with the venues and with the people throwing the party, with the brides and grooms thinking about, the musicians and DJs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complete collaboration between vendors and couples alike to make sure it's the safest environment for not only the bride and groom or the couple, their guests, but also everyone that's working for them, because we're also out there putting ourselves there. So I absolutely agree. Lee, I know with social distancing, sometimes photos can be, you want to get a little space, but not look super awkward in that. How have you been dealing with now these portraits, these big family portraits after a ceremony and throughout the day?
Yeah, so most of my weddings, of course, have been pushed off to next year. I've had only maybe 5 weddings this year out of 30. But what I can say is the coolest thing I've seen a couple do is for their guests is get colored wristbands. So like you would have at sporting events or a charity event, they have different colored wristbands that your guests can wear. green, yellow, and red. And it lets people know how they can interact with them, which I thought was a really cool idea. Green, of course you keep your 6 foot distance, but they're open to interaction. They want to be part of the event, what's going on. Yellow is, they're a little more apprehensive. Don't rush up to me, stand your ground. And red is, hey, we're here for the couple, but we don't want to participate in what's going on as far as please don't come up to me, don't talk, and that way the people don't feel awkward. They know, they know how to be interacted with. So, which is cool. They don't have to stand back and run away or feel awkward at the wedding. So that's been my experience. As far as photos, uh, I find that that really hasn't slowed down people getting their pictures taken. Most people that are getting the family pictures, they all know each other. They all know that they've been tested. They're not fearful of that. So they come up, they gather up, they take their masks off. Some people leave them on, get their picture taken, and then they go about their day.
Yeah, I mean, they also have a lot of cool masks for bride and grooms or couples. And I know that a lot of my weddings have had masks as favors. So we have this was my Sunday wedding, Katie and Pat, shout out. So they can do a cute favor because favors, in my opinion, are on their way out. But masks are definitely great for that. And also personalized hand sanitizer, also from Katie and Pat. Thank you very much. Keep this in my pocket at all times during weddings. But it's definitely a different kind of photo process for some of them. I think even if they're not wearing masks, it's fun to do a picture still with the couple's emblem on it, just, to look back, like you said, in 10, 20 years and be like, oh, well, that pandemic was a really crazy time. We'll show our kids and they'll hopefully not even know what that was, except for the history books. Also for coordinating weddings, like I said about favors, it's a great way to save money and to create favors that your guests actually want and will take home. That's one of my budget tips, is either make it something like that or make it edible, because everyone loves snacks. I love snacks. So at the end of the night, if it's not edible, I'm usually shoving 30 koozies back with everyone that's leaving. And I'm like, oh, you only have one? How about you have two? Because I don't want the couples ending up with 50 koozies at the end of the night with their name all over it. My second budget tidbit is programs. That is something you absolutely do not need anymore. I think that's the number one most unused item of your entire wedding, because it will be on your ceremony chair and your guests will look at it for maybe 4 seconds and then it goes right on the ground. And then myself and catering, like Bobby, are going to be cleaning it up, and you just wasted $100. So there's some hot tips for you guys about saving money, which is super important during this time of uncertainty and unemployment. I know we've all kind of lost some business or moved it, so it's always great to save money when you can. And I know with our panelists tonight, we all are collaborating, and our biggest kind of Bible of the wedding day is the timeline itself. The timeline is going to tell us what is happening and when it's happening. And it is really important for your photographer, your caterer, and your musician to know these things, so everything goes off without a hitch. I know my personal favorite part of the timeline is the first look with the couple. Lee, do you want to expand a little bit about first look?
Yeah, well, so timelines in general, for sure. I feel like that you should try and get your photographer involved as early as possible. I find that, most of my couples hire me out a year and a half in advance, plenty of time to work with them. But when I do get the occasional couple that's last minute, it's always hard to come late in the game because certain times are already set. So if your wedding is going off at 5:30 and sunsets at 5:30 and you want sunset pictures, that's not going to happen. So, getting photographers involved early in the game where we can move things around, like your makeup or your hair, or even the ceremony time sometimes makes a big difference the earlier we are involved. The other thing I'd say about timeline is know your sunset hours. If you're getting married later in the year, like we're coming up on the shorter hours. I've had couples go, hey, yeah, our ceremony's in December at 5:30. We want to do sunset pictures. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be pitch black. So know those crucial times. Know what's important to you, what you want to accomplish with your photography, but definitely get your photographer involved early on in the game.
And Lee, what do you think are some really important questions to ask your photographer, like what to look for?
Yeah, so for sure. So I get this a lot. And the number one thing is, first of all, just start looking at every single picture you can. Start to develop and figure out what you really like. Do you like bright and airy? Are you dark and moody? Before you start vetting your photographers, have a particular style in mind, what you want your images to look like, because photographers have a certain style and you don't want to just waste your time talking to the wrong person. So I think there's three really important things you need to do. Is you have to fall in love with the photographer's work. Then you talk to them about your budget, what you can do, where's your budget lie? But most importantly, your personalities have to match up. You don't want, if you're a high energy person, you don't want a photographer that's really laid back, and vice versa. You guys got to match up, because the last thing you want is going to a wedding dreading it because your photographer and you aren't on the same page. So vet your vendors out. The more research you do, the better you're going to be.
Absolutely. I can't stress that personality mesh enough, because it makes it an even more enjoyable experience. And especially it's nice when, you want to stay friends with your couples after the wedding too. Like you just had such a good time building that relationship that you want it to continue. So it's absolutely important about that. I know there's so many choices out there for every single category of vendor. So Ray, when talking about like musicians and bands, what are ways that they can vet out DJs, or any red flags to look for while they're interviewing?
So basically, my being an agency is the best way to go, because just booking individuals, either individual bands that put up a website that aren't part of an organization, is a little risky. So I would basically go with an agency for a band or DJ, just because there's backup there. If something in an emergency, if your DJ is sick, he may not have a backup. And it generally also, along with that, a lot of your individuals do not have the insurance that most of the venues need. In fact, we make a living in normal times on writing certificates of insurance for independent bands and DJs that can't get it. It's not easy to get. The other thing to look at is to see what kind of reviews the people have. So if they're selling you and they have like 2 Wedding Wire reviews, that's it, not good enough. So Bialik's Music, we've got, last I counted, and it's slowed down a little bit as you do less weddings, but we're about 1,475 Wedding Wire reviews, and the next closest competitor's not even at 1,000. So we've really worked that hard, and a lot of different people are on there. But what's how we've become successful even in this COVID time, we are the champions of smaller situations. So we don't have 15 10-piece bands, just not, has never been. So we're the kings of 3-piece bands, 4-piece bands. We do a lot of DJs for with Bobby at Putting on the Ritz, because we have small, it's mostly DJs, but we have small, on packages, inexpensive type of things. The other thing to vet out is if there's an 800 number only, don't go there. They could be in Canada or Fiji and you don't know where they are. If you call an agency at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you get a machine, you give them 5 minutes to call back. There should be no machines. It should be an operation. That's a little bit different, maybe during this time. The other thing is to look at is the website. There is no reason to go with a company that does not have the best website ever. So we've got 5 different categories, and we're getting more as this COVID thing stays with us. We have bands, and then our bands are divided into different sizes, ethnic groups, whatever they do, bands, and we have DJs, we have strings for ceremonies and receptions, we have photo booths, we have uplighting, and now we have streaming services, which is something that we did not do, beforehand, but now we do live streaming because a lot of these individual weddings basically are trying to invite as many guests as they can. I'm in Montgomery County. We're like, maybe you can have 50, maybe you can't. Virginia's great. You can have 150 and that, they don't seem to care as much. So great. We know some people that have basically moved their weddings, but if the website isn't perfect, and everybody's had a lot of time to work on their website since we closed down in March, then vet it out. One of my biggest competitors has basically been shut down because they built their whole company on going to hear the band live at showcases. Well, that got thrown out the window because nobody's going to go to you can't have it, number one. Number two, the live showcases are probably a thing of the past until maybe 2022. So look at get reviews. And the main thing is talk to your salesman at the company. If they're hard selling you, hang up on them. If they're giving you choices and they seem to know what they're talking about, and you should go with a vendor that makes it all about the bride and groom, not all about the agency. It's basically Bialik's Music in normal times does about 2,000 events a year. This year we'll hopefully do 200, but probably not. I don't know. You never know. Bobby said there's Christmas calls coming. That's great. Got to start working on that because that was like 20% of our year sometimes. But if you go with who you're comfortable with, because as you talk to the agent and then they refer you to either a band or DJ, it's the band or DJ's reflection on the owners of the company and the people that have trained them and everything. So it's kind of like whatever you want, we're going to do. And if the band or DJ comes to me and say, why'd you promise them that? I said, because you can do that. So, you can do it. I'm a former band leader, so you can't say we can't, because I was brought up in the age of you can do everything. You just have to put your mind to it.
Absolutely. And I think you made some super good points there. As a coordinator perspective, the DJ is such an important part of the musician of the entire night because they create the mood and the flow. And that's just, as a coordinator, I can serve food, I could put flowers on a cake, I could put out centerpieces, but I can't jump behind a DJ screen and start playing music or pick up an instrument. So it's super.
The other thing to look at is the company's social media as well, because if they're like, these days, all we can do is put on social media the events where you are, and there's very few of them. But if you're looking at a company is nowhere, and the companies that are just saying, can't wait till so-and-so's wedding next year, they got nothing going on now, there's a problem. They should have something going on now. I think, Bobby, we have like at least a wedding a week with you, coming up, like, small, but coming up in September and October, whatever. So if your company that you're looking at or individual has absolutely nothing going on, then I think there's a problem with the company.
Yeah, I mean, as business owners, you definitely have to pivot and see how you can still create business even when it looks a little bleak. There's always ways to improve, and
it should be better than it's ever been because we've all had time. After I get off the golf course, we got time.
I know some of us don't step foot on the golf course, so I definitely have more time. But definitely live streaming is super important right now too. Zoom weddings. It's a great way to include your guests that may not feel comfortable coming or just can't make it for whatever reason. It really, allows them to still be present with you, and there's no hard feelings on either side, which is great.
You've gone out and invested a bunch of money in live streaming equipment. So, if you can have 50 people, but you want another 50 there, if you don't do that right and the 50 people don't get to see your wedding on Zoom because you blew the live streaming, you might as well move to the South where you can work again, because you're not going to work. You're going to have a lot of relatives really mad. So we've spent thousands of dollars that we probably don't have anymore on live streaming equipment and stuff. So we're like one of the leaders in that now. So it's kept us through all this, loss of income and stuff.
Yeah, I much rather hand that off to the professionals because I can't even do a Zoom with my family, let alone be responsible on the biggest day ever, nor do I have the time. But, that is awesome that services are available.
Here's the point. Do not wing live streaming. Don't wing that.
Absolutely. That's why we had the professionals do that tonight. Well, I know that music is one of the things your guests are going to remember, and photography and how they felt on their day is what they're going to remember as the couple, reflecting on those photos and feeling if they were stressed or not. But food is also a huge component of what your guests are going to remember during the day. So Bobby, what are some important differences between working with someone that's a full service caterer, like putting on the Ritz, or some other options that couples might go for?
Nowadays you see some people going to the barbecue places, they get things dropped off. I guess if you want something casual, that's fine. But just like Ray said, you have to find professionals. You want people to put the whole event together. People don't realize when you walk into most of these venues, there's a big pile of chairs in one corner, a big pile of tables in the other. And you've got literally 2 hours to unload this 20-foot truck of equipment, set these tables and chairs up, put beautiful linens on them, and get everything ready to go. I mean, sometimes we're caterers, sometimes we're moving men, but
Yeah.
basically you have to have a good team working together to get everything done on time. Otherwise, you're going to be worried about so many things on your wedding day. It can become a nightmare.
Absolutely.
Out of that, you also want to have people that give you choices. You'll find some of these smaller venues or some smaller places, they do great barbecue and that's it. But you want to have a lot of variety of choices for all of your guests. I mean, basically, people always ask me what my specialty is, and I say it's making people happy. We do beautiful buffets, but we do these fantastic stations where we'll do like a gourmet mac and cheese station. We're sauteing tableside with all different toppings, or a mahi taco station. We do some beautiful served meals. We have to keep everybody happy. It's not like you went to the Italian restaurant, or you went to the Chinese restaurant. It's all about giving a wide variety of choices to the guests and to the clients. You want your wedding day to be special just for you.
Absolutely. And does putting on the Ritz have like a signature dish or some most popular dishes that they're choosing for their wedding?
We do a broad mix. Actually, we're starting to do a lot more served meals. We're really well known. We've got a fantastic crab cake. We also do a wonderful chicken bruschetta. Everybody loves that. It's kind of like bruschetta toast, but we put it on top of the chicken with a little cheese, some balsamic. What's not to like? That makes for a great buffet item or a great served meal. My favorite's always been stations, though, if you have room. Now, sometimes that might be a problem with social distancing, just because of all the room stations take up. But sometimes you can have an Asian table. Sometimes you can have an Italian table. You can have things being done tableside. People love seeing things cooked in front of them, be it the mac and cheese station, or we do a Mongolian barbecue, or something simple like an old-time carving station. People love those things. So it gives giving people a wide variety of things. When you're doing a served meal, no matter how good your food is, serving 1 or 2 items on a plate and hoping to keep 200 people happy is always kind of scary.
Absolutely. And you're making me really hungry.
Sure, it's my job.
Dinner yet. Now looking forward ahead to, end of 2020 into 2021 and even 2022 in some spaces. What are we thinking kind of the trends going forward into those next years is going to be? Lee, I'll start with you on that one.
Well, trends. Wow, that's a hard one, because most of my couples, all wanted big weddings, and they are all pushing off to next year, hoping that they can have their big wedding. I feel like that is probably going to happen, but I think that people are starting to scale down and having more intimate weddings, and then going on a lavish honeymoon. Instead of spending all this money on this massive wedding, they're condensing it, and then they're taking a crazy trip somewhere, if that's allowed, if they can even do that. But I think the scale down, more intimate thing is definitely coming into play. But I don't think that people are, they might have fewer people at the wedding, but they're not taking anything away from the wedding. So they still want these beautiful photos. They still want to be catered and these beautiful dishes brought to them, and have this great wedding just on a smaller scale.
Absolutely. And I agree with you on kind of the mini monies and the micro weddings, kind of scaling down a little bit and putting more money into other things like the photography, the florals, and really creating a more lavish and intimate experience, which I love because, there's weddings right now that are at Airbnbs or in backyards or venues like Kentlands Mansion, where you can create a really small, intimate event. So I love it, but it's also bad for me because if it's smaller, they really don't think they need a coordinator, but I promise you do. But for booking you, Lee, what do you think makes you stand out amongst photographers?
Yeah. So I only take on a limited number of clients every year. And the reason I do this is I shoot, when people ask me what my style is, I really shoot emotional and spirited images is kind of how I describe myself. And the only way that you get those really emotional, gripping images that, 20 years from now, you're going to look back on and start tearing up on is you have to have trust in me and trust in your photographer. And the only way to get that is to spend time together. So with my clients, I really invest everything I am into them. So we go out for appetizers. Before this whole COVID thing, we might have taken a ball game, but we really spend time together with each other. So when it comes time for their wedding, they are comfortable with me and they're comfortable with being photographed and they're, comfortable with the whole process. And unless you're comfortable with who's photographing you, you're just going to get these stale images. So I think that's what I do. I connect with my couples on a more emotional level than just a vendor relationship.
Absolutely. And I know I've enjoyed working with you, seeing you at vendor shows just right beside me. It's been an awesome experience. And then for Ray, what do you think the trends are upcoming in the next few years and why should people book with you?
Number one, I think that they should book for me because we've been here 42 years and I've got a daughter that's going to take over if eventually. So we'll be here another 42 years. We're not going anywhere. I think that the trend in the short term is small, micro, mini, but remember the last pandemic was 1918 and then 1919, then came the roaring 20s. Okay. Everybody forgot. And as soon as it was safe, it was go crazy time. So, and the other thing to remember is that except for poor us, our industry, we're getting creamed. There's a lot of people that are thriving in this industry that are still going to go out if they're allowed and have the big lavish wedding without cutting costs at all. One of my other daughter works for a bank and she is busier than heck. They're making gobs of money and, good for them and good that she's off my payroll. Yay. So, happy about that. But I think the trend in the initial, as long as there's still a pandemic without a vaccine, is small, careful, but classy, postpone until we're allowed to do more. And then eventually by, let's say there's a vaccine that works and more people take it, more and more people will increase what they want. So their big wedding that they postponed the next year will actually happen. And I think just to make up for bent up energy, they may even expand what they want to do. In other words, they plan a 100-person wedding. They've made some new friends staying home and talking on the phone and on Zoom calls. They may have to go from 100 to 150 people. There's a trend, bigger and better for next year. And by 2022, we are going to be so busy, we're not going to have time for these Zoom calls probably. So, that's the way, I would, basically like to see it. So it's kind of like hang in. I think for probably a couple years, some of the people more like my age and you all's age, because I think I'm the senior here, will probably still maybe wear a mask around a crowd. Will still want hand sanitizer. I think hand sanitizer and careful, there may not be as much of the hugging and kissing thing, but as far as the music wise, I think we're going to go from what we're doing now, small bands to single musicians to DJs up back to DJ dance troops, bigger bands, and bigger and better. And I just think it's just going to be a slow little ride. So great big things come in small packages. I think the excitement will still be as small. You make it as exciting as you can, but a year from now we'll be hopefully talking about, can't wait to go to the these things. And I'm starting to go to some live events that the industry is having. Sesma's having something next Thursday, 50 people at the Anderson House. So people are starting to crawl out. Not everybody will, but people are starting to. So I think that main trend is that, slow, and then build up speed, and then, go for it when the time's right.
Absolutely.
Optimistic.
Yes. I absolutely hope that all of that comes true. Slow and steady wins the race.
Well, the basically, this is we're the worst time we could be of all the industries. We picked the wrong one to be in during a pandemic, but things, I've in my life anyway, but I started the company when I was 24, not because I graduated college and started a company, because I graduated college, got fired twice, and I didn't have a choice. I had to start my own company. So things turn out for the better eventually. And the companies that hang in there through this are the ones that you're going to want to deal with too. There's going to be a few of us that are going, but I think we're positioned. The four of us are positioned to be there. When this is over.
Absolutely. The longevity is there, the tenacity that you need to weather the storm. And then for you, Bobby, what do you think would be a trend going forward for catering, and why should couples book putting on the Ritz?
All right. Well, I agree with everybody. I mean, actually, I'm for the big lavish weddings. I think in the near future, we are going to have some of the smaller micro weddings, but totally agree with Ray. I think once next year hits, people start easing up on the social distancing. I think parties will start getting back to normal by hopefully mid to end of next year. And you'll see the big lavish weddings, people wanting to get everybody together. And I truly hope that's going to happen. I think that's what we all need for the industry. And I can't see people not getting back together. I mean, that's such a big social part of life, weddings, bar, mitzvahs, holiday parties, whatever you do. It's just great having people together. These computer things are kind of neat. I didn't know what the word Zoom meant 6 months ago. I'm certainly not a master at it now, but it's getting the hang of it.
Should have bought the stock.
The stock, yes. Should have bought some stock and plexiglass, by God. A lot of plexiglass, Ray. I guess, one of the biggest reasons to get us, kind of like Ray, we've been around for a very long time. I've got 2 sons in the business, so hopefully we'll be around for a lot longer. One of my truest compliments I've got over the years, one time I was pulling into a venue in PG County. It was a Sunday, and I was driving the truck that day. It was a busy day, and I jumped out of the truck, and the lady that runs the venue looks at me and goes, "Oh, thank God it's you guys. I can relax." It's been a bad weekend. She had a lot of bad experiences with the caterers on Saturday and Friday, and I kind of think that's when you get us, is that you can relax. We're going to make the wedding the way you want it. We don't cut those little corners. I mean, when you get a piece of paper and they send you that bid out, everything looks the same. Everybody's the same on paper, but are they cutting it down to just one piece of chicken per person? If somebody drops that pan, do they have some extra chicken? Are they like me, and are they sitting outside the door 20 minutes before you can get in just to make sure if they let us in early, or to make sure we're there on time? It's those little things that you don't see on a piece of paper. They're why a business is around for 35 or 37 years or 102 for Ray's case. I mean, this is how we operate, and we make sure the little things make the big things go right. And that's what we do at Putting on the Ritz. I mean, we bring people in for personalized tastings. We do one group at a time. There are some companies that used to do mass tastings, and they're going to go by the wayside too. But we work together, we go over the phone, we have meetings, we put together the perfect menu for you. Then we have you come in and try that menu along with some extra dishes in case you may not like a different item. And it's that personalized touch to make sure you're getting what you want. And I think that's the most important thing you can get with be it a caterer, photographer, DJ, or anybody. Just making sure they give you what you want.
Absolutely. And I would think wedding tastings is one of the most fun parts about planning the entire thing. If I can ever butt in on a tasting to meet a couple, I will take the opportunity.
You bring a couple over, we'll feed you. Don't you worry.
Yes, my favorite part. That's why, can't lose weight during wedding season because I just eat all the catering food all the time.
We always have a spare meal hanging around. Don't worry.
Yes, vendor meals are important to get for your
Yes,
couple.
they are.
Yes, make sure you tell your caterers to feed your vendors because we are there for very long days. I guess I should toot my own horn at the end here. You should book me because I'm awesome, obviously. I'm so quick. When you email me, I respond right away. It's just like a text. I am a day/month of coordinator, which isn't all encompassing of what I do, because same with Lee. Sometimes people book me a year out just to make sure I'm there on their day. And I don't put restrictions on, oh, you can't talk to me until we're 3 months out or anything like that. You know, it's an open communication. I'll talk as much or as little as you want to. And I'm really laid back, but I get your stuff done on your wedding day. So it's that calming presence, but then that anxiety that I'm always 15 to 30 minutes early, and I will make it all happen. Thank you, anxiety. But I've really enjoyed talking with all of you tonight. I think we are actually going to open up for some Q&A from some of our Facebook guests. So I am going to start. Kristen wants to know, what are the most forgotten things on the day of the wedding? I'll start. Your marriage license. I've had that forgotten so many times that we're just like, oh, we'll just send it later and it'll be legal. It's fine. So make sure someone has that, or they know where it is and you know who you're giving it to after the ceremony if your officiant isn't mailing it off for you. Lee, what about you?
That is an awesome question because I go out in all kinds of weather, right? My gear is sealed. I've got jackets on. So if you want to go out in the rain, if it's not a perfect day in your wedding and you want to go out in the rain and do some photography, I'm all down for it. But I can tell you what everybody forgets. And I even remind them, everyone remembers an umbrella and a jacket, but women always forget about their feet. So they're all geared up. They're ready to go out and play in the rain. And they look down and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to go out with my $300 shoes and get them ruined. So ladies, you know, go to Target. They've got knockoff hunter boots really cheap. Go get some pink boots and some baby blue boots for your girls. Put them on, go out, have some fun in the rain.
Awesome. What about you, Ray?
Oh, was I supposed to bring a check? Oops. I'm going to Fiji for 3 weeks. Can you take a credit card on the spot? No. Okay, we'll pay in a month. Bye. So we do ask you to pay 2 weeks in advance, but there's some people that, you know, for whatever reason, you know, daddy's in Hong Kong and, you know, he's got the check and whatever. So it's not a big problem, but most of the time there's nothing really to forget about the band other than to pay them pretty much.
Okay. What about you, Bobby?
We bring all the little things. We always have a spare cake knife and server in the box just to make sure. Extra champagne glasses. You know, always try to make sure you have those. If you're going to do place cards, try to get them in alphabetical order. Takes a lot longer than you think it would take. I'll tell you that. But we bring some of the little backup things that involve us. And then the big things are just make sure you forget when you update things, always let your caterer know. I can't tell you how many times I've already done my staffing and I get the timeline and all of a sudden the wedding started an hour earlier, an hour later. And we have to call 25 people and let them know to be there at a different time. So keep all your vendors up to date with everything. Nothing's more important than that timeline.
Absolutely. Now this next question from Kristen again is for you, Lee. What is the best way to communicate with your photographer if you want more or less direction for those formal shots after the ceremony?
So that's usually something we plan out throughout the year, you know, how we're going to interact with those formal shots. Typically we make a list of who's going to be in each one of these pictures. So my assistant can be queuing up a group while I'm doing one group. They can be queuing up the next group so we can interchange people rather quickly. You know, we don't want to have to go look for somebody at the bar to waste 10 minutes trying to find. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is communication throughout the year. Normally, by the time the wedding comes around, we've already figured out all those logistics. So, you know, that's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, and I always ask if they want their officiant to say, you know, at the end after they're pronounced back there, you know, ask immediate family to stay in the area. Just because, yeah, you don't want to find Uncle Bob at the bar. You know, you don't even know what Uncle Bob looks like.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. We actually have them email everybody who's going to be in these pictures a week before or even the night before at the rehearsal dinner, because a lot of times the minister even forgets to make that announcement. So we always tell people in advance, let these people know not to leave until the pictures are done. But it goes really easy.
Yeah, the more directives, the better sometimes. Now we have Carrie. She was wondering, what's the best way to negotiate with vendors in order to save on costs? What are things that vendors might negotiate on versus what are their non-negotiable items? What are other ways to save money when hiring vendors? I'll start with you, Bobby.
Just give them whatever they ask for. Now, it's like, basically the biggest way to save money against headcounts. I mean, you don't want to lower the quality of things. So having a few less people can actually help you afford a nicer wedding. Outside of headcounts, also look at the day of week. Everybody's busy on Saturday, but we can only do so many weddings on a Saturday. Where upon a Friday or a Sunday, we might be able to give you a little more of a discount, as long as it's not peak season. Sometimes in June and May, we're very busy on Sundays also, but in other times of the year, we're not as busy. And the same winter weddings, January, February, we have discounted packages for brides and grooms because we're not as busy. Some of our ballrooms aren't as busy, so we try to work with everybody. So I would say the time of year, day of week, those are the most important things.
I 100% agree with that. For working for venues, that is a huge money saver because if you get married on a Thursday or even a Monday, something during the week, you can get the venue at a quarter of the cost. And then you might be able to up your guest list because that will offset everything. So definitely considering a flexible schedule is a huge win for that. Ray, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So what we do for Bobby, basically, we do a package plan for him. So the brides and grooms get very inexpensive costs because they allow us to assign the DJ. So which we do basically 2 weeks in advance. So a lot of times I'll make up a figure, for $1,000, you can get a DJ that's usually $1,500 because you call them 2 weeks in advance. I said, all right, you've got a choice. You either take the wife and kids out to dinner and you're out 400, or you make 500 less, but you still make 1,000 that night, and you can leave the wife and kids at home. So we have a lot of contracts that say DJ by B. Alex Music, string group by B. Alex Music, where we give them a big discount if we're allowed to assign it. So we've got probably 10 string groups, 35 DJs, and 50 bands. If we sell out, I'll go buy it from somebody else, but I think it's going to be a while till we sell out all that stuff again. Used to, but it's going to be a while. So the thing is, trust us, let us assign you what we know is going to be good, because your insurance policy on that, you'll save money, and I'm not going to ever give somebody like putting on the Ritz a bad anything, because it'll be the last job I ever do for them. So there's your.
They've always been good, never had a problem whatsoever, and the packages are part of some packages we do for daytime events and off-hour events, and always fabulous.
So trust us, let us do what we do, because we're not going to steer you wrong. You'll save money because we can lower the price that way. But don't demand Beyonce. Don't call up and say, I want Beyonce for the $1,000. No.
Now we have another question from Patrick. He was wondering if you've ever had any event get shut down by authorities, and how did you handle it? What's the best way to avoid unwanted interruptions during weddings? Lee, we'll start with you.
Well, I did. We had in Chicago, they have wedding venues that have about 3 different weddings going on at the same time. And it's always confusing because guys tend to wander into the wrong wedding and they start hitting on the girls. And so, yeah, we had a big brawl start at a wedding, and cops came and had to separate everyone out. It didn't really slow the night down. I think it actually kind of charged the night up for everyone's energy level. But I feel like when you try and do too much in one area and you try and be in an area where there's multiple events going on, you're always asking for something to happen, So I feel like, have your venue out by itself, and where your guests and who's coming to your event, and you shouldn't have any problems.
Absolutely. What about you, Ray or Bobby? Any crazy things?
The
Yeah.
problem we ever have is if you have your wedding outside in a tent, the noise ordinances. So I have a rule. If you're gonna have it, basically, if you don't like your neighbors, basically invest in movie tickets, send them out that night so they're not the ones that call, that have little kids that are sleeping where it's not really loud, but they're just ticked off that they didn't get invited to your party. So they'll call the police, and the police always come out, and the police have never shut down but interrupted. And it's like, you don't want to be, your bride and groom up there having a great time. All of a sudden there's policemen and they're not your friends. So that's kind of creepy. So just in an outdoor wedding, but I don't think we've ever had an indoor wedding get, from a band point of view that I know of that got shut down. We've had some delays and we've had some illnesses and, people getting nuts on the dance floor and falling and, in a drunken stupor, but they weren't shut down. But we've had some policemen come to some outdoor weddings that have said, turn it down, and then you try and then, doesn't matter.
Yeah, just like a house party. The music is always bumping. That's what's going to get attention a lot of the time.
Invite your neighbors or ship them out of town.
Oh my gosh. Now for this last question for everyone, we have, what is one thing in each of your fields that a couple shouldn't skimp or cut corners on? So Bobby, we'll start with you.
Whew. There's a lot of things actually, but I mean, the food, the beverage, I mean, you always want to have great food. I always say if you want to get a lot of bang for your buck, spend a few extra dollars and get that upgraded linen. $10 or $20 a table, you get this beautiful linen. It's 5 foot. It goes all the way to the ground. It's a huge part of decor. I always say if you give your florist an extra $10, you get like one petunia. But a big, beautiful linen, 20 or 30 of those in a large room can make a fantastic difference. But really, it's not good to skip on anything, actually. I mean, you always want to have the nicest bar you can afford and get some great food and make sure your guests have a great time.
Absolutely. What about you, Lee?
So I think the biggest thing is don't skimp on your time. I think the worst thing anyone can do, and this goes back to your timeline, is trying to cram 10 hours worth of coverage into 6 hours, because the whole purpose of getting married is to get married and enjoy your friends and family, not running from point A to point B, smile, get a picture taken, run over here, run over here. It's too stressful. That's not what the day's about. The day's about spending it with your family and your loved ones and having a nice, relaxing timeline and enjoy your day.
Absolutely. What about you, Ray?
The people that spend a bunch of money either on their band or DJ and then their strings and they have a photo booth, and then we go, well, what are you doing for uplighting? Oh, we don't have any more money for that. And they spend all this money and they go to this event, and you look at the event afterwards, and this will probably drive Lee nuts too. It's like really dark in there because they wouldn't spend any money on uplight. So a couple of the DJs and the bands generally come with their own lights to light themselves, so it helps a little bit. A couple of the DJs own them and they'll bring one or two, but if you can spend, uplighting is very inexpensive. So if you can get like for $30, $40 an uplight, spend at least $400 and make the room look nice. If you don't have a planner that's going to tell you the same thing, I can tell you that. But I've just seen some really, really nice weddings that didn't have a planner or somebody to tell them what to do, just like you couldn't see the person in front of you because there was nothing lit up outside of the band or DJ's lights on themselves. So uplighting is kind of something that you should really spend. It's not expensive, but get some, that's all.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it has been a fantastic night chatting with you about all things weddings, our favorite thing. But I think our time has come up. We talked about a lot within this last hour. So if you have any additional questions, or you need some inspiration, you need some vendors for your upcoming wedding, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We are here for you. We hope to work with you. And you can find us, all of our social media, I believe, is going to be on Kentlands Mansion. So for Megan, myself, on behalf of Forever After Events, thank you so much. I will hand it off to Lee, who's my next square.
Right on. Hey guys, thanks for spending tonight with us. I know you have a lot going on. You can be doing anything. I don't know, watch a Murder She Wrote, something on TV. Who knows? But we really appreciate you being here. You can find me at weddingsbylee.com, on Instagram, Weddings by Lee Photography. And coming out next week, I have my podcast. It's called Everything Weddings. So we'll be talking to vendors, everyone involved in weddings to help you plan your special day. And Ray, how about you?
Thanks everybody for tuning in. I know there's choices. I just missed Jeopardy. Big Brother's coming on, but we have DVR, so we're good. That's what our life's like these days. But I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in, and just keep optimistic. And Bialik's Music is we are majorly all over LinkedIn, Facebook, at bialiksmusic.com. So we do a lot of funny things. We're just not all serious all the time. I occasionally I got 5 grandkids. I throw them on there, and they're just like cute, adorable, and kind of fun. So just keep a good attitude and follow us. And I've been around for 42 years. I kind of know everything. So if you have any questions, ask me, because I probably experienced it in some form or another.
All right, Bobby.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Again, you can find us. We have our website, puttingontheritz.com. We're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, Pinterest, and I'm sure a few other things I'm not familiar with. You can always feel free to email me. I don't know everything like Lee, but I do know a lot of stuff. I mean, like Ray, I'm sorry. But feel free to shoot us any questions. We'd love a chance to talk to you about your wedding, and enjoy, and this will pass. Everything passes with time, and next year, this will be hopefully a not so fond memory, and we'll all be back to normal.
Yes, love is not canceled. And Kentlands Mansion, thank you so much. Lisa,
Thank you,
thank you so much for having us. We had a blast.
Thank you guys so much. This was great. You guys had so much good inspiration. We hope this inspired all the watchers and gave you some good ideas from Kentlands Mansion and all of our I Do crew. We just want to thank you for joining us, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest for even more event ideas and inspiration. You can also like and share this video with all of your friends who weren't able to make it tonight. Have a great night.
Bye.